On this episode of the Cover 4 podcast, the frauds, the real ones, the disappointments, the surprises, we got it all coming here on the Cover 4 podcast. Welcome to the Cover 4 podcast. I am Jeff. It's just me and Luca today. There won't be any fighting though, so you don't have to worry. It's not going to be that trauma flashback to your parents getting divorced or anything like that. Hope I didn't just do that for you just there, but no fighting today. Nolan is off in Vancouver, doing whatever, people do in Vancouver. Never been there before myself. And then Bradshaw decided he misses his parents, so he wanted to go for lunch with them. What a loser. Anyway, we're not losers, though. We're going to be talking about the NFL. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to start off with some surprises, and both in good and bad ways in the NFL. And Luca, why don't you get me started with your surprise player?
My surprise player. First off, good morning, Jeff. This is a pleasure. This is the dream pod right here. I've done singles with Brad and Nolan, not you. So now I've done all three. So this is gonna be fun. So my surprise player, I think in the off season, we were all like, what the hell is Jacksonville doing, giving Christian Kirk that amount of money? And he's been my surprise player. Now, I'm still not sold on him as being like, one of the top 5 guys in the league per se, but he has really helped, Trevor Lawrence's development. And whether that be the lack of weapons and him just being the best one, or him just really coming into his own with the scheme under Doug Peterson, I think he's been a tremendous player for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, yeah, they're again not doing great this season, but I mean, you look at his games, right? 9 receptions last game against the Chiefs, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now that could be because they were losing and they just have to throw the ball. But last week against Vegas, that was a closer game. He had 8 catches, 76 yards on the touchdown. So he's getting looks, he's getting a lot of receptions, and he's getting in the end zone also. I think Evan Ingram got hurt last week against Vegas. Again, that's another weapon down. But Christian Kirk, he just picks up where he left off and he just keeps it going. So he's been really good for Lawrence and their development. I still think he's overpaid. I'm still going to say he's overpaid because $18 million for a guy who hasn't shown us anything will always be an overpay. But the way he's playing right now, it's kind of hard to argue where Jacksonville was going with this. But he's been a very, very nice pickup for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout because I think we were all critical, and like you said, I still think it is an overpay, but I think Kirk has put himself in that position to say, like, I am a number 1 wide receiver. Like, I can do it. Is it an overpay? Sure. But in free agency, you're going to always be overpaying. And I think it's necessary for the future of the franchise. If you believe Trevor Lawrence is that guy, you put him in the best position possible, no matter what it takes. And, they can move around numbers with contracts. You can potentially get rid of them if you feel you need to. They probably won't because it seems like they have a really good chemistry and, they're really building towards something there in Jacksonville where for their entire franchise history, they really haven't had anything at all. So that's, I think that says a lot. My surprise player for me, I feel like it's a little too obvious, Luca. Yours was a lot better. I'm just going to go with Tua Tagovailoa because you know what? The fact of the matter is that yeah, he's got the weapons and all that stuff, but he still doesn't have the best offensive line. And yeah, maybe his coach is a much better play caller and stuff like that. I think that helps him. But I didn't think he would be this good. I thought, he had the potential to be a pretty average quarterback, like a solid starter. I'm thinking now he's looking like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He's pushing towards that, at least in my opinion. And yeah, like, I don't disagree with Nolan, by the way. I do think that having Tyreek Hill getting open the way he does, the way defenses have to kind of give him so much respect over the top. And same thing with Jalen Waddle too. That's obviously a factor. But the fact of the matter is too, is that he is making those throws. He is making a lot better decisions. He is so much quicker. And it's just good to see because, I think a lot of us wanted to see him succeed in the NFL. It looked like he was a guy that could have a lot of potential, but those first couple of years were just so brutal, so rough. It looked like he was headed on his way out of the NFL. There were even rumors that the Dolphins were looking to trade him for a long time there, and now he's seemingly, at least for some people, in an MVP conversation. I mean, we'll see what happens, but overall, I think Tua Tagovailoa has kind of cemented himself too and said, like, he is a starting quarterback. He is a guy that, if it doesn't work out with the Dolphins, somebody else will want him. And if another contender wants him, maybe that's a good place for him to go too. But Luca, let's talk about your surprise coach.
My surprise coach. Jeez, man. I mean, my surprise coach. There's just every week I feel like it changes, right? I feel like it's like okay, this guy's on the hot seat. Like I think a couple, what was it, maybe last month we did a coach. We're like, oh, Ron Rivera is going to be on his way out. Washington, for some reason, just played better with Heineke, and the locker room loves him. I don't know if you saw that video yesterday,
Yes.
with him in the locker room getting emotional and like McLaurin stepping up. I thought that was great. My surprise coach, and it's not necessarily a good thing. It's actually surprised that they're doing so poorly, and that's Sean McVay. Like, listen, I the Rams are just not what they were last year, and I don't know if there's an injury going on with Matthew Stafford. We're probably going to find out that in the offseason he was playing the whole season with like a broken elbow and like just couldn't throw. But I expect him to just figure it out. Like they cannot run the ball at all. And this is a team that was committed to running the ball the minute he got there with Todd Gurley, put him in MVP conversations. And I know that the offensive line isn't as good, but you see what Kyle Shanahan does in San Francisco with all the injuries. Doesn't matter who's up, he makes the run game work. I expected him to do that. And he has Cooper Kupp, who a lot of people think is the best wide receiver in football. I'm not going to deny that he's going to go down. Now, they've dealt with injuries, but you have Aaron Donald, who's the best player in football in a lot of people's eyes. You have the best cornerback in the game in a lot of people's eyes. You have the best receiver, right, in the game in a lot of people's eyes. And Matthew Stafford, even though he's not playing good, he's still, I think, at least above average. And that's hard to do in the NFL because there's only a handful of guys that you can pick out and say, hey, I'd want them to start my team with. I don't think he's a bad option. So I'm surprised that they haven't figured it out yet. I know they've dealt with injuries and they're just not playing good. But if anybody told you at the start of the year that you thought they would be 3-6 in week 9, and in every single game that they've won, they have not impressed me where you can look at their games and say, man, this team could really realistically be like 1-8. They have just not been good. So I'm surprised by Sean McVay's not being able to turn it around. They're not going to make the playoffs, Jeff. And again, the curse of the Super Bowl hangover is going to continue.
Well, I think I'm going to stick with a similar vein in the same coaching tree, and I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur, who I was clearly a little bit too quick to anoint him as one of the best coaches in the NFL. And for the simple fact is this: look, Aaron Rodgers has been bad. We've all seen it. He's below average. I'm just going to say he's below average. He's bad. He's bad. He's bad. Aaron Rodgers is bad, people. I'm putting it right there. Aaron Rodgers has been bad. This last game, okay, fine. He finally got a solid game. But every game leading up to this point, it's been pretty clear from 3 weeks in, something's wrong, whether it's him, the receivers, whatever. It's probably all of that. And they don't run the ball. They invest this money in Aaron Jones. You don't run the ball. You get pretty much like 4.5 yards of carry at least every single time. You have and he has been one of the best run play callers in the NFL. Similar to Kyle Shanahan, and he doesn't run the ball. Obviously, we know pass the ball more, you generally win more. But when you have an advantage that you have like that, and you have a weakness in your passing game right now because it's been prone to turnovers against the freaking Detroit Lions, I think
I don't know what that was.
That was crazy. That was insane. Like how many right in the end zone too. Yeah. And it's just like, I get you paid Aaron Rodgers the money too. I get that. You're trying to make the playoffs, man, where you can give him a shot to be his best there, just run the ball like a little bit more, at least a little bit more. And it's just so frustrating because Aaron Jones is one of those special running backs. The Packers run game is one of those special running games that they're probably not sitting at 4-6. They might actually have a win over the Minnesota Vikings, maybe even in that first game. And they could, and they're going to have a crucial one coming up soon against the Minnesota Vikings for the division potentially, if they get there. But right now, they're just not even in that position. They got a losing record. They're 4-6, and it's looking pretty brutal for them right now. And defense, it also isn't working out either. And to an extent, as the head coach, he's got to solve that in some way, shape, or form, and he just hasn't.
And I think the prime example of them not using the run game, I'm gonna go all the way back to the London game against the Giants. It was like what, 3rd and 1, and they couldn't pick up a yard, and they threw it twice. You're telling me you got AJ Dillon in the backfield, you got Aaron Jones. You're not gonna give him at least one chance to pick up 1 yard? I've never understood that in the NFL where it's like 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and they're like, no, we're gonna pass it. Just get the first down and keep it going. Like I don't get why it's like, well, this is a passing down. Yeah, it's a passing down. Okay, what, you can get sacked on a passing down, you can throw an interception on a passing down. I get you can fumble on a run play. I'd way rather hand it off to Quadzilla, is what people call them, and and AJ Dillon, or like you said, Aaron Jones, and pick up that yard. Ever since that Giants game, they have just been falling off. They get blown out by the Jets at home. Then they lose a close one to the Commanders. The Bills are the Bills, whatever. And then, like you just said, they lose to the Lions. It's just not good enough. And I know that they pulled out a miracle win against Dallas because I think Dallas just beat themselves in that game. But I agree, Jeff. I think when we look at, I mean, it's not just the Packers. It's like every team in the NFL. If they have an elite quarterback, they just kind of give up on the run. And I just don't understand, because if you have a good run game, that just helps your QB even more. So it's just even overpowered. If he can throw it when there's no run game, imagine when there is a run game, and then you could put play action into that game plan. I'll never understand it, but I agree with you, Matt LaFleur. I thought that they would be doing a little bit better considering they have Aaron Rodgers behind center.
Absolutely, yeah, and even it's frustrating because, like, dude, they're literally basically with a bye. They're like without a bye, they're only like they're tied basically with the Detroit Lions, right? They're literally only 1 game ahead of them, which is crazy. I don't think we thought we would see that. But I think we'd see a lot of this in the NFL. This playoff picture, Luca,
oh my gosh,
is disgusting. It's crazy. I think, everybody has been kind of on the whole, the NFC sucks. The NFC sucks. I think the whole NFL sucks, man. The whole NFL, I mean, there's been a lot of fun games. It's been tighter games, but I do think the defenses have improved and caught up to the offenses a little bit. But the whole NFL is very inconsistent right now. Very, I don't know what I'm looking at here. I mean, the Eagles, yeah, you know what? Eventually, a lot of the undefeated teams will lose at least 1 game, right? And a lot of times they do lose it to teams you don't expect, like the Rivera-led Commanders. And now they're 8-1, and they're tied, and essentially with the Minnesota Vikings. They obviously have the tiebreaker being the win over the Minnesota Vikings. But then you have the 8-1 Minnesota Vikings, which is also something we didn't think we'd see. They just got a big win over the
huge win.
Bills. Huge win. One of the craziest games you've ever seen, obviously, with that probably maybe best catch of all time.
Hey, listen, 1 p.m. Kirk is something different, Jeff. That's all I gotta say. He was great.
1 p.m. Eastern time, Kirk is a different animal.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
He is. He goes off on the plane and everything. I mean, he's a different guy, Captain Kirk. And then you got the Josh Allen fumble. I mean, hey, eventually that's going to happen. It just happens to be at a really bad time where you really can't afford that.
He's done that a couple times. I think he did it against Miami when they lost that game. He fumbled the snap.
I think you are correct, actually. Because he doesn't take a lot of snaps from under center. It's almost always in the shotgun. Which is a great point. And then the Bills, who we thought would be number 1, they are 6-3, tied with a couple of teams, obviously, in the NFC. Let me run them down actually real quick. So we got the Chiefs sitting at 7-2, they're first. Miami Dolphins leading the AFC East. The Tennessee Titans somehow, once again, leading the AFC South. Got the Ravens at 6-3. They're just coming off a bye this week. The New York Jets 6-3. Buffalo Bills 6-3. Patriots 5-4. And then outside, you got the Los Angeles Chargers, who have been nothing but a disappointment. And you got the Cincinnati Bengals, who have also been a pretty extreme disappointment. The Colts, who somehow pulled off a win against the Raiders. The Raiders are that bad. And there's a bunch of teams on the outside there. The NFC is almost what you would expect in a weird way, other than what I just mentioned, the Vikings, because below them you got the Seahawks. And then you got the Buccaneers at 5-5, somehow climbing out of the NFC South, which was, it looked like the Falcons might run away with it, but no, that whole division's terrible. You got the Giants at 7-2, second.
And they're in a wild card spot, Jeff, and they're 7-2.
Which is crazy. And I kind of do wonder how long they're going to be able to stay that way. Below them, you got the Cowboys, who somehow lost to the abysmal Packers just recently. And I was almost ready to anoint the Cowboys. And then you got the 49ers, who are kind of trudging along there. They haven't been impressive either. But Luca, let's try to figure this out.
Yeah.
Frauds in each of these two conferences. Just go off. Just go
Okay.
off.
One thing I like to say is, for people who don't realize this, if the Commanders can sneak into the playoffs, that means the East, so the NFC East and the AFC East, all 4 teams will make the playoffs in their respective conferences. That is nuts. That is crazy. Surprise, obviously, the Seattle Seahawks, but the fraud is very clear. It's the Patriots. They're not going to do anything. I mean, they're in a playoff spot right now. They could make the playoffs, sure, but are they going to make any noise? No, they're not going to make any noise. The only chance they have is if they play the Titans, and if they could play, this is if they make the playoffs, right? And everything goes according to plan. If they play the Titans, I think they have a shot because, I just think that's probably their best game plan. They're not going to beat Baltimore. They've already lost to Baltimore at home. The Dolphins, division rival. Don't trust them to go to Hard Rock and win that game. Definitely don't trust them to beat Kansas City, even though Bills schemed pretty, I would say, decent against Mahomes in the past. He made it a little bit uncomfortable for him. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't even think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs. But as of right now, looking at how the standings are, they're definitely the team that it's like, okay, no, like they're not a playoff team. They just happen to be here. So are they a fraud? I feel like nobody really has expectations towards them. So I can't really call them a fraud. Another fraud, I would probably go with the Jets, just because I don't think that they are going to be able to win a playoff game on the road. I just haven't seen yet. I mean, listen, I know that they're in the Patriots division. They've got a lot of good pieces, but I think Bradshaw, was talking about how he was really excited about this, the future of the Jets. And I think we all are. I think it's a really, really fun team. But again, they're 6-3. They're the first wild card team. They beat the Bills, which is a great win, which really impressed me. But I don't know. Like, I just can't see them going on the road and again, maybe the Titans, but like, and I'm kind of shitting on the Titans right now. But can you see them beating Baltimore? Can you see them beating Miami? Maybe Miami is a division rival. I'll still take Miami. Can't see them beating the Chiefs. So that's where I'm kind of sitting with this. I think the Jets and the Patriots. The Patriots, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but the Jets, who look decent, they look pretty good. I'm not buying them because I just can't see them going on the road and winning a playoff game. And even if they do, they're probably going to get bounced the next round. But that would be a success for them, Jeff, though. That would be a success for them.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think, a lot of us had a lot of questions about the Patriots, especially this division being so stacked. And you do wonder, like, who might pop up to kind of take them out of that wild card spot. But I'll take the NFC here, Luca. And I think Patriots former quarterback is going to be joining them in that fraud category, because I don't see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even if they do, I could see them making the playoffs just because they could win that division. That changes everything, right? But then, this is a quarterback driven league. And I don't think that the Tampa Bay defense, as pretty solid as it has been, is going to be able to go toe for toe with another team, because Tom Brady, the guy that got us both into this sport, is not playing very well. And yeah, sure, absolutely, there are questions on the offensive line. Injuries at receiver have definitely hurt them. The fact that he doesn't have that kind of target over the middle that he typically does, whether it be a slot receiver or a tight end, he doesn't really have that this year. I think that's going to affect him big time. If they face a team like, say, the Giants, that's a pretty awful matchup. I think Daniel Jones plays well enough. I think that Giants defense plays more than well enough to eliminate anything good that the Bucks will do in that game, especially, Brian Dable kind of knowing them, and kind of figuring out, okay, well, what we need to do is do X, Y, and Z. Everything else will take care of itself with a pretty, again, not very good offensive line. Tom Brady is almost 50 years old. I don't think I'd be able to move that good at 35, let alone 40, 45. And then, there's other teams too in here I could see just beating them. I mean, as much as I said the 49ers are inconsistent, the 49ers defense is incredible. That's a team that just plays well enough. And then Jimmy G just doesn't make enough bad throws. They're in there. Cowboys, I mean, let's be real, that defense is just so good. I think that Packers game is a bit of a fluke, although Mike McCarthy is incredible at shooting his own team in the foot.
Oh,
He's really special at it, honestly. Like, it is
yeah.
incredible that he won a Super Bowl. It's remarkable, actually. Like, it's insane. Like, he could be first in the NFL, and he might still do it. Like, it's just
Mhm.
it's pretty disgusting, Luca. It's pretty
But
disgusting.
you know the Cowboys. I mean, they see the record and they're like, "Oh, well, he's doing something right." Well, I mean, no, because those 3 losses, you could probably go back to all 3 of them and say, "Well, you probably could have had 8 here. Probably could have been 8-1."
The 4th and down where they failed to convert, where Dak nearly gets sacked, fights out of the sack. The reason why he's fighting out of the sack and like barely able to do anything is because every receiver is downfield when the first down was 5 yards away.
Yeah,
Why is everybody downfield?
Not sure if that's a Kellen Moore thing.
Could be a Kellen Moore thing.
Yeah, or a McCarthy thing. To be honest, listen, I didn't hate the decision because your defense has shown that they've not been able to stop Rodgers. So even if you kick the field goal, the way that they were playing, Rodgers is going to go down there and probably score a touchdown. I mean, I get it; it's risky because you're giving Rodgers at the 40. It's pretty much over, and that's what happened. But again, I think when I don't know, mistake me if I'm wrong. I think when Green Bay got the ball back, it was like 5 minutes. So even if they got that first down, yeah, and they get the field goal, Rodgers would have had maybe like 2 minutes to get the ball because they were. I mean, if you get, it's so overpowered if you get the ball first because not only you win if you get a touchdown, you could drain that clock down to like 8 minutes, and the other team, even if you do score a field goal, has 2 minutes to score and get into field goal range. So it was crazy, but yeah, Jeff, I don't know about with Mike McCarthy. And you know when you said former quarterback of the Patriots, I didn't even think of Tom Brady. I thought of Jimmy Garoppolo. So I was like, he's gonna say the 49ers. That's how much he's just been. Oh, it's sad. It's a sad season to see Brady struggle like this. I'll be honest.
It's a sad season, but you know what?
It was
He
coming.
struggled like this before, and he has come back. You don't know. Maybe Brady
Mhm.
comes back the next year. Maybe the offensive line gets fixed up. He gets a tight end, and he's good. You know, he's getting old. He's not willing to tolerate things as much as he used to in his younger age. Now it's like, no, you got to give me a target over the middle, or I'm just selling it. All right. But I think that'll do it for us this weekend, Luca. That is all for the Cover 4 podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports and Lingo News for a whole lot more just like